All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's actionable mini seminar. This is Charles Gaudet here, and with me is my man, Zach Burks.
Hey.
Zach's got a little bit of a sore throat, so he might not talk as much as I do today, but anytime he opens his mouth, he's a wealth of knowledge, so we'll get him to push through the pain and share as much as possible.
Oh yeah, it's going to take more than that to keep me quiet.
Nice. Cool. Well, hey, we do have a lot to cover, and we're going to keep this to 30 minutes as we promised, maybe even a little less because I know everybody's got a lot of stuff going on here today. So once again, today's presentation is called the Content Seeding Strategy. We could have also called it Content That Converts. So as you know, those people who have been around us for a while, we're always constantly testing, tweaking, and improving different strategies to see what's working, what's not working. This is a strategy that we've really been deploying for, I'd say, a minimum of the last 6 months or so. Pushed a little bit harder on it towards the last quarter of 2018, and the results have been extraordinary. In fact, so extraordinary that December, while it's traditionally known as one of the slowest months of the year for B2B when you're selling to other companies, we actually had some of our best weeks during the last 2 weeks of December, the week of Christmas and the week right after Christmas. So just as a testament to how powerful the strategy is. So it kind of all starts with content. And I'll also share with you how you have been part of our little experiment right along. So the problem that we have when we're creating content, and the reason why we use this strategy is because, first of all, there's a lot of noise out there, more so than really ever before. We've got a situation where we've got infinite number of competitors. The differentiating factor is becoming more difficult because with the more competitors that we have, it's harder and harder and harder to stand apart. And so when somebody's trying to make a decision to figure out who they're going to do business with, they're generally looking at between 12 and 13 different sources. I'm trying to figure out, how do I make a smart decision? Do these people understand what my problem is? Are they smart enough to help me with my problem in a way that is going to generate a great result for me? They're also trying to figure out, why is this person worth more than the other person, and so forth. So there's a lot of overwhelm there. And of course, there's the uncertainty, as we just kind of talked about, who's what, lack of confidence. And part of that lack of confidence has to do with the fact that there's just so much competition out there. You go on Facebook, people are telling you, hey, you're missing on the reason why you're not getting this result is because you're not doing X, Y, Z, and so forth. And so just this overwhelming amount of lack of confidence. And so we studied different elements of content that we put out there, and we realized that there's a formula to content that actually converts. We call that PSA content: problem, solution, action. So I encourage you to write that down: problem, solution, action. You deal with one problem, talk about the solution, and give away an actionable piece of advice. So that's the type of content. Now notice, this is kind of, I guess, throwing in the face of a lot of popular experts in gurus, in that a lot of them are going to tell you to make sure that you throw in a strong call to action and all social proof, and basically it becomes a mini sales letter. And we've done that. We've tested a lot of that. And we've worked with a number of clients and done that too. Some markets it works better than others, but when you're talking about different levels of sophistication, and you have a very, very crowded, very, very noisy market, you're better off following this formula. Marketing instantly tends to turn people off. If it looks like marketing and feels like marketing and people feel like it's a sales message, it kind of turns people off. So instead what we did is we changed everything. We said, you know what, we're just going to give one piece of information. We're going to really deliver it so people have actionable piece of content so they can leave the webinar, take advice, and get some results. And that's what we're finding that's converting. That's what's actually turning it into sales. And so one of the questions that we're getting right now is, what kind of actions? And so Well, I'll give you an example at the end of this webinar here, but you're giving them, so if there's a problem, there's an action. I wish I had a whiteboard here behind me, but basically what you're doing is people have a problem. They're sitting here at this stage, right? And what they want to do is they want to get to this result. And so what you do is you kind of break it down into chunks and say, okay, if they're here and they want to get here, they've got to take different steps. They've got to go here, 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 here. And so in order to give them the full layout from here to here, well, they're going to have to pay for that sort of advice, right? What we can do is we can start to get them results in advance. And so we take them from here, maybe we give them the next step. And then in a follow-up video, in another training, we'll give them another step. Each training, we give one step, one step, one step, one step, so they get one step closer. As they start to accumulate these little wins, suddenly they start to realize, man, this person is really helping me. And so as they're really helping you, they start to look at you a little bit more fondly. We've heard people like to do business with people they know, like, and trust. And so as you continue to deliver content, you're building up that relationship. People are starting to trust you. They'll like you because you're actually doing something without any expectation that you're going to get something in return, or not any outward expectation. Like, I'm only going to give you this if you pay me, or I'm only going to give you this if, if you listen for the first 20 minutes until I give you my preamble and then pitch you and so forth. So this kind of sets you apart as a little different. Zach, you want to add to anything here before I kind of move on?
No, so I see another question. It's the focus on, like bite size. Yeah. So I think anytime, especially for us, and I know for a lot of the clients we work with, we're in a highly guru space, right? And so I think everyone's kind of used to the typical webinar where there is like this long build up, like, Charlie, tell us everything about how great you were and are, and how you were broke and you had $2 and now you're a multimillionaire and you can show everyone else how to do it. I think that kind of playbook is played out. And so I think the idea is to have content that's very practical and can lead to an easy win. But, like most of what we do and a lot of our clients and most people probably on this call, it's not like that one result that you provide. It might be a series of results or a series of actions that they can take to reach that result. So you're kind of focusing on one thing. And I see another question real quick. I'll try not to answer all of them because we need to get through the content. But I think that's, how do I establish credibility if I don't talk about my amazing experience? Where do you build trust? I mean, I think we just talked about it. You build trust through having actionable content that is like, hey, these guys actually know what they're talking about, and they're going to give me value. They're going to help me, but there's no pitch at any point. So then it starts to build trust. Like, okay, I can trust that these people have my best interest at heart. Because if you genuinely do, I think that comes across. You come across as authentic and trying to help, right?
Yeah, Brian, to illustrate a point, this particular person. This particular person, Brian, you and I worked on together on a project. So I had a conversation with this prospective client, and all I did in talking with this prospective client is understand the problems that he was dealing with. And through the problems, I was able to offer a couple different solutions. And he hired me on, and then about maybe somewhere close to half a year, something like that. At this point, he had already paid me over half $500,000. And so he's paid me $500,000, and I'm sharing a strategy very similar to the one we're talking about right now with him. He says, I don't know, I just don't understand how that would work. And I said, well, let me ask you a question. What do you know about me? He says, I know you live in New Hampshire, and he's starting to pick on like different things that I talked about over the time. And I said, well, what do you really know about me? What do you know about my ability to really deliver the goods? And he says, I feel like an idiot. I really don't know much about you. I said, man, how can you not know anything about me, and yet you've paid me $500,000, maybe even more dollars? How is that even possible? And he's like, I don't know. Now I'm starting to feel like an idiot. And then I explained to him, I'm like, look, at the end of the day, you really didn't need to know about me. I don't have to tell you all about myself, but if I can demonstrate that I understand your problem and I can demonstrate a level of proficiency, then you automatically assume that I have the solution to everything that you're looking for. And that's what we're finding that's working. You know, we talk about there are reasons and results. The only thing that matters are the results. What I'm telling you right now is purely based on results. Now, look, a lot of the people who will watch these these mini trainings and whatnot, if they're completely cold and they don't know who you are, it might actually take a few different pieces of content before they're willing to get on the phone with you or before they're willing to buy from you. Because you got to warm them up. You got to establish that trust. So persistency and consistency are going to be key here. For the people who know you, this is where it gets really exciting because they know you. They're kind of on the fence. They're like, I kind of want to work with you. And then once you give them that little bit of information, like, boom, this was awesome. I want more of this. That's when they really start to accelerate their buying process. In this next block over here, I talk about a mini actionable pitch-free seminar and training. You know, the other way to term this is an appetizer. How many times have you gone into the mall and as you walk into the mall, you pass by the little Chinese food booth and there's a little guy there with an orange sesame chicken and you walk by and they're like, here, you want a piece? I don't know about you, but I can't tell you how many times I wasn't really planning on eating orange sesame chicken, but I'll take the sample. I'll take a few steps past the Chinese food place, and I'm like, I could take a little bit. I'll go get a little plate, right? That's kind of what's going on here. We're giving a mini actionable pitch-free seminar or training. These are trainings. This isn't something where we're just kind of giving away theory. We're giving information. People need to be able to walk away, and if they're in this gap, be able to take that one next step. Let me see here. Got it. Awesome. So, part of so you're giving proof of value and expertise when you're sharing this content here. There is a bit of the reciprocity effect, right? You give away really, really good stuff, and then you trigger Cialdini's response of the law of reciprocity, where, oh man, this is really good. I kind of feel obliged to do something for you to some effect that does actually take place. But here's sort of like where the magic happens, right? Now we're going to go one step deeper. And so now we have the content, the PSA content, right? You have your mini actionable pitch-free training, seminar and training. Again, what we're doing, it's a little appetizer. You're not giving everything. If you give away everything, there's actually an opposite effect. You give away too much, you're not going to get the sales. People are going to think, oh man, I've gotten so much information, I've gotten so much content from you, then I guess I really don't, before I hire you, I'm going to sort of just get this stuff done first, get some sort of results with this stuff done first, and then when I see the results, then I'll go ahead and hire you. So you're delaying the process. What you want to do is you want to deliver just enough of a result so people feel a win, and they're like, oh, this was awesome, I want more, I am hungry for more. And that's exactly why it's just an appetizer, because people just don't order one appetizer and then say, that's it, I'm done with dinner. You got one appetizer and you're like, I'm hungry for more, and that's what we do. So this content is now used. So the first thing that we like to do is we like to do a live training because it brings people like yourselves. This is how you're part of our experiment, right? Brings people like yourselves here into our live training. This is an engaging environment where we're able to dialogue with you and answer questions and make sure that you feel like you've gotten some really great value from the content that we're sharing. And then we repurpose this. So we're doing a 1 + 1 = 3 type benefit. And so we have this live event. We get a bunch of people registered. And then from here, we're able to upload it in places like YouTube, share it on social media, and so forth. I mean, Zach, I mean, I can't even count how many times people have actively reached out to you because of something that they saw on YouTube. Right? It happens all the time. In fact, I know there are several people today. The only reason why you're here today is because of a video you saw either on YouTube or social media or so forth. Right. Simon, that's, as you mentioned, that's you. And, that's great. And the reason, Simon, for example, you had a conversation with us. There are 1.5 million business coaches and consultants and whatnot out there. But there was something that we said in the video that you watched that really resonated well with you. Like, man, this resonates really well. You seem to understand some of the problems that we're dealing with right now. I wonder, how much more they could help me. And that's what we're looking for here. So there's a generating.
Add to that real quick, Charlie. So we're talking about the PSA content and these actionable mini, like seminar trainings. It doesn't necessarily have to be video, and it doesn't necessarily have to be like a YouTube link, but that has worked really, really well because I think it does a couple things. I think we all watch a lot of videos these days. I think stats kind of prove that out. You can watch on your phone when you're brushing your teeth. You can do a number of different ways to watch videos. So it's very easy to pull up a link and watch it while you're doing something else, maybe eating versus trying to read an article. Though I read a lot on my phone, etc. But I think the video has like a couple different aspects that an article does not. I think a lot of people send articles. Hey, I thought you might like this article. It's just kind of a played out approach where I don't know if anyone really reads those articles anymore, but saying, hey, I have this video, and you can kind of see like a thumbnail of it. Well, there's a couple things that are happening. We're giving some strategy, we're giving some value in advance, but you're also seeing our two faces. So you're kind of connecting with us, the eye to eye sort of thing. And then if it's coming from a YouTube link, it doesn't feel like I'm sending you something from my domain, but it feels more like a credible resource because it's coming from YouTube. It has like this weird impact or effect because it's coming from YouTube versus say predictableprofits.com. So it's worked really well in that sense. I don't think video is, you don't have to use video. This isn't just referring to video, but the video has worked really well because of those reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. So then if you look at generate interest, that's an inbound strategy, right? So we're balancing inbound with outbound. So that's an inbound strategy. If you look at now, the next way is doing it as sales prospecting. Zach was just sharing with me yesterday where there was a particular person that had an issue that he was aware of. And so he took one of the trainings, one of the mini actionable trainings, and he sent the training to the person as, hey, I think you might find value in this free training. The person watched the free training and then reached back out to Zach and became a client. And so that's a way that we can prospect. In your business, if you look at the different clients, in the past, we've talked about Dream 100. We've talked about, having a list of your ideal clients. You see common themes and challenges and struggles that they might be having. Brian, this is a perfect opportunity for you as well. This is where you can create a free training based on one particular concept. And then you reach out and you send your prospect, hey, we did a free training. I noticed this on your website, thought you might be interested in taking a look. Mm-hmm. That is one way in which you can immediately start the conversation. When you do something like that, by the way, that's when you really trigger the law of reciprocity. And people find value in the actionable training that you're sending them, and you're giving it to them for free. Where you will ruin it with the sales prospecting is if you send them the free training and then you follow up with the really hard sales pitch. So right now we're just being cool and we're laying the groundwork. And similarly is the sales follow-up. Right? A lot of people, we get a lot of questions like, hey, what kind of content do you put together for your follow-up? And it's like, actually, you know what? When we have a conversation with somebody, we take pretty detailed notes on the challenges and the problems and the struggles that they're having. And it's really important to stay in front of people. Ideally, you want to stay in front of somebody at least once a month, right? If not once every other month. And you want to be able to send them something that helps to resolve a pain, a struggle, or a problem that they might be having. That's why the content, PSA content, right? It's not just theory or just something cool that's going on. Problem, solution, action. So, um, thank you. So let's see here. I'm going to go through some of these questions here. How do I decide what free trainings to create, given that there is so much content that I should use? That's a fantastic question. We really start with one problem, and usually it comes from the sales conversations that we have. I mean, the last training that we did, we showed you our prospecting plan, and that came out of several sales conversations where people said, I don't understand. What does your outbound marketing strategy look like? And so we said, all right, you know what? Let's show you. We'll do a quick training.
Yeah,
People
I
also,
think the other
sorry.
thing I'll add to that is that like we will typically cover topics that I think there's some sort of mystery around, right? So it's not only difficult, but it's a topic that it's a result that they're looking for, but maybe they've struggled with it in the past. So if you can show the light a little bit on how you might be able to get better results, then it seems very practical. Like this is a challenge I've faced for a long time in my own business. These guys are testing it every day. Maybe they know something that I don't. So then there's some, level of interest there because it's something that maybe they've already struggled with in the past.
Yeah. You know, there's we always get this question where, how do I know I'm giving too much, or shouldn't people be paying for some of this advice and so forth? And I kind of thought that way like many years ago, and then we realized that the more we just kept sharing some of our best stuff, you have this abundance mindset that you might not become a client today, but if I can continue to deliver great value back to you, at some point you're either going to become a client or you're going to refer somebody to me that will become a client. So if we just continue to deliver some really, really great stuff with just some understanding that, you know what, maybe not today, but at some point, as long as we continue to deliver great value, you may become a client. And if you keep that mindset too, what you're going to find is that momentum is going to build. That's why December, the last 2 weeks in December, were some of our best weeks. We had so much momentum. Really, it became another challenge of, man, we're running out of time in our calendar. How do we fit in all these appointments? And it was because it just kept coming and coming and coming. So you're going to see a lot more of these these trainings. You see a lot more content and whatnot. I recommend that you really look at some of the stuff that we're doing here and how and why that it's working and where it can work for you. And as far as a strategy is concerned, right, because we want to leave you with something actionable here, I want you to think about, what type of, draw on a piece of paper where your prospects are right now and where they want to be. Identify the struggles, the problems, and the challenges that you're having. And start creating content based on the sales conversations you're having, dealing with one problem, with one solution, and one action item. Make them bite-sized, chunk piece of content. You don't have to make them 30 minutes long. You could do a 15-minute mini webinar, and that's totally fine. There are some times when, Zach might shoot a quick, you've done this before, Zach, with LinkedIn, where you've shot a quick, I don't know, a couple minute video just to be able to share with somebody. Right? Just problem, solution, action, one problem, one solution, one action.
Yeah, the last thing I'll add to, just because I think if there's anyone in the room that's kind of skeptic, it's I don't think we didn't start when we started doing this. We didn't have this massive list. We didn't have this massive audience for all the trainings, but we stuck with it, right? It's kind of what we've always talked about every like training. For some reason it comes up because I think there's no replacement for that hard work. You have to be consistent, and it starts to build over time. So we started really small, and progressively it's gotten bigger over time, and more people have viewed it, etc. I think the challenge is not only providing content that matters, that people want to see, and it's a challenge that they're facing, but that you're consistent with it. So they're almost expecting you to do it. They're coming to expect that you have these trainings and that I can come and learn something. But it doesn't necessarily have to be video, like I keep saying, but just to be consistent with it is a big part of it.
Yeah, there's a bunch more questions. I want to make sure that we end on time as we promised you, so I'm going to kind of fire through some of these questions. When sales prospecting, after you send them the webinar, do you follow up and ask them if they saw it, and how do you respond if they don't? So Zach, I'm gonna pass that one off to you. So when
Yeah.
sales
So
prospecting, after you send them the webinar, what's your follow up look like?
yeah, so I tend to, and Krish, good question. I tend to mix it up. So I think we've seen a lot of our results have improved by using different platforms and different mediums to reach prospects. So I may not follow up directly in email and say, "Did you see this?" But maybe on LinkedIn or something else, and more just asking to make sure that they got it. And believe it or not, I think if they did see it and they just didn't get back to you, then maybe they're just not that interested, and that happens, right? I mean, that's part of the game. But a lot of times, what I have is, I think I had this happen to me yesterday. There was, I reached out to somebody, said, "Hey, did you get this?" And he said, "No, I received 20,000 emails a month, Zach. I did not see your email. Send it again, or send it here." And so I did, and he watched it, and we scheduled an appointment. So
Awesome.
I think it's maybe hitting from different angles, but also if, if you're able to ask, like, "Did you see it? What were your thoughts? Hey, we're always trying to improve, and then, if you're just not interested, let me know. I'll stop, contacting you," something like that, where it doesn't feel kind of spammy and high pressure. I think people generally will respond pretty well, and they'll tell you what they think.
And so you want to also write the email like you're writing it to a friend, so it doesn't look like marketing. Many times when I'm writing the email, I might say something like, "Hey Zach, I was talking with," and instead of writing with, I'll write a W and a slash, the short for with,
Mm.
and I'll just make it real quick, sign off, and won't have this real long, drawn out marketing letter. Doesn't look like marketing. Looks like I'm writing one email right to a friend. Um, Real quick, there's another question too. How do you feel about your competition taking your content and your strategy? Go ahead. You know how many people actually copy us right now? I mean, that's the funny thing. We've actually done these trainings, and then the same people who our competition who actually watches our trainings, they end up doing these mass blasts, and they end up sending our content word for word directly back to us.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't even try to hide it. They're copying our stuff word for word. And, it's over time, if you have a big enough community, I mean, we've had people actually reach out to us and forward emails that have come from our competition to say, "Hey, it looks like you've got a copycat." And it's kind of a joke. It actually adds a little bit more to us and our credibility when they see our competition copying us.
And
I don't look
and
at it.
I mean, to be clear as well, like a lot of what we do, we're learning from other people as well, right? Like it's not like most of what works in marketing has been around for a while.
Yeah,
So we're testing and trying new things, but it's not, so I don't really have abundance mindset, right? Like we're learning from others and others are learning from us, and it's just kind of this circle that continues. In fact, actually on that note, real quick, I was going to mention this to Krish, but I just started doing this. Haven't done it yet, but I'm going to, in terms of the sales follow up. Printing the email and sending it to them in the mail.
yeah,
That's not the strategy that we necessarily came up with, but it's one that we've seen others do, and it works really well. So we're going to try it.
yeah.
And
Tom Trush actually he's the one who shared it with us,
yeah,
right?
so
And then Tom
it's
got it
kind of
from
like a
somebody.
circle that keeps going around. And I
Yeah,
think if you're constantly fearing your competition, it's like what you can't compare yourself to someone else. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, right? And you have to worry about yourself and focus on getting better. And if you're focused on what your competition is doing, you've already lost. You're
yeah.
you've lost. You're behind. So yeah.
Absolutely. I'm gonna leave you actually with a piece of wisdom that Brian Keith just shared with us on the webinar. He says, "Putting in hard work for a month is easy. Doing it for a year is hard." Right? Zach talked about this earlier about the consistency. The consistency, we've long talked about momentum and the importance of momentum. Momentum doesn't happen by boom, just sending out one piece of content saying, judging it whether or not it works, it doesn't work. I mean, there were times too when Zach and I had an internal conversation. We're like, "Man, I know we've been testing the strategy for a while. Is it worth? It's taking some effort. Is it worth it?" So yeah, you know what? We got to keep consistent, see what happens. that consistency all of a sudden paid off. We're seeing just tons and tons and tons of momentum, more momentum than we've seen in a long, long, long time. And I'm talking real qualified, excellent, engaging conversations. And this is why this is one of the most exciting strategies that we've developed in 2018. We're doubling down in 2019. This is going to be a core profit center for us. I really, really encourage you to test this out for your own company. Stick with it for a minimum of a quarter. I can promise you're going to see some massive results. Remember, problem, solution, action. Take one problem, create a solution, develop one action item. Run these through a live webinar. We minimum 15 minutes to ideally 30 minutes. Pitch free. You're giving solid training. It's an appetizer, right? Use it to generate interest. So post it on social media, whatever that might be. Do it for sales prospecting. Send out an email and then follow up. Everybody, look, thank you so much for being here. I want to, keep true to our word. I know we're 2 minutes over, but I want to keep true to our word and keep it at 2:30. Thank you again, everybody, for being here. If you have any questions, feel free to jump on our website, schedule a strategy session. We'll be more than happy to answer your questions on a strategy session. So, all right, guys, that's it. Thank you very much, and we'll talk to you all soon. Take care.